So I spend all kinds of time thinking about, writing about careers, coaching people in their careers, trying to help people find more job opportunities, win more of those opportunities when they finally come around, and then ultimately to thrive when they actually get a job so that they can provide happiness and fulfillment for themselves, their families, their dogs, as the case may be. I've spent the better part of 20 years trying to understand how organizations, how companies actually work, how they make hiring decisions, how promotions happen, how people move through the organization. And I use those experiences to try to help the people that I work with and that read the things that I write, to try to help those people take advantage of corporate dynamics so that they can have their own career success, so they can build optimal strategy for finding jobs and having success. So that is the one hand. On the one hand, I am a career coach. Now, completely on the other hand, I am also a hiring manager. I run a big team for one of Canada's largest technology companies. I spend my days interviewing people, reading resumes, managing people, watching people have success and failure, and ultimately to trying to discover and develop people who can be real positive contributors to the company. So in some ways, it might seem that these two perspectives, career coach on the one hand and hiring manager on the other hand, are actually diametrically opposed to one another. In many ways, I am a big part of the very corporate fabric that I try to help people take advantage of. But my hope is that for today, that mixed perspective will be a source of some pretty unique insights into your lives that you're probably not going to hear too many places. And I hope that in the short time that we get to spend together, I can take those perspectives and help you guys walk out of here with a few pragmatic, practical tools that you can use to make your life easier and serve the clients that you care about so much. Last thing I have to warn you, this is not going to be all high fives and fist bumps. It's not going to be all good news. In fact, at times there might be a little tough love in this presentation. But I know, having spoken with some of you, that you are in the tough love business. This is what you do. Big misconception out there that the job market is logical, that it is based on merit, and that with some good effort, a little common sense, and some intelligence, you can get a job and have some modicum of success. But we know, I think, that that's not really the case. You hear the rhetoric everywhere. Dinner tables, office buildings. I hear it in whispers in the political dialogue going on right now in this country, in the US. We want to believe that the job market, that hiring processes, that career development are equitable, that they're reciprocal, that you put something in and you get something out that is commensurate with your investment. But we know that that's not the case. I've been working for companies for 20 years, and with 100% certainty, I can confirm for you what you already know in your heart to be true. The job market is anything but fair, logical, and merit-based. People think that the doors to career success look like this, that they're logical, that they're balanced, that they're straightforward, that the job market is accessible. But really, it looks like this. It's confusing, it's frustrating, it's unrealistic. It's ill-conceived. As I said, people think that the job market is fair and equitable, but it's not. If the job market was based on logic, if it was based on meritocracy, why do I now need a BA to work at Starbucks? Why, as an employer, do I keep posting entry-level jobs and asking for 3 to 5 years of experience? And then even worse, Why am I always complaining that none of my job postings are filled? Well, young people all over the place are finding it harder and harder to find work. The job market, as we know it, has changed. 25 years ago, you started at the bottom, you put in some work, and eventually you ended up on top. Today, there are absolutely no guarantees. We've made it infinitely harder as a system even to get to the bottom. And for the young people that you guys serve, it's even more difficult than that. So I've had only a short time to try to get to know you and to try to understand what your life is like. But from what I can tell and from what I've learned and from what I can only imagine, my guess is that your job consists of brief moments of pride, some moments of sadness, moments of relief, sprinkled on a continuous line of frustration, red tape, and bureaucracy. Endless paperwork, infuriating bureaucracy, ridiculous policies, mind-boggling processes. These are just a few of the things that I think make it harder just to try to help people. We have made it really hard to help people. Now I think that it's helpful to talk a little bit about what would we make it if we could. If we had all the power in the world, what would we make the job market into? If we had a magic wand, what would we change? So I thought about this. For one, I think we'd create a job market where employers had more realistic expectations for jobs, especially at the entry level. We created an environment where young people who had great potential could get a shot to realizing it, even if they don't have that perfect paper trail of experiences. They don't check every checkbox. Where you wouldn't need a 4-year degree and a bunch of work experience to work in data entry or basic customer service. We'd want to create a world where the job market was more realistic. I think we'd also want to create an environment where employers woke up to the fact that most of the practical skills you actually need to be successful on a job are actually acquired on the job. We'd start investing more time in developing people in the workforce and less time scouring the earth for impossible unicorns just to fill basic positions. And last, I think we'd want to create a situation, a reality, where we had more time to focus on the things that could actually make a difference in people's lives, where you didn't need to spend so much time wading through red tape, dealing with processes, going through hoops, just to try to help people out. If we had a magic wand, if we had all the power in the world, this is what we would do. But we don't, do we? We don't. It's going to take a long time to address some of these systemic issues that we've talked about. It's going to be like moving a ship. It doesn't happen overnight. And that makes me think of a quote which I think is extremely appropriate to set a tone for the things that I'd like to talk about for the rest of today. And it comes from the scientist and inventor Buckminster Fuller. He said, "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. If you want to change a thing, you build a new model that makes the old model obsolete." So my proposal, my suggestion for the rest of today is that maybe we, for a minute, stop fighting the existing reality, stop fixating on how we wish things would be, and instead focus on trying to talk about some tools, some approaches, and a mindset that can help people find more success in the reality of our situation today. You wanted to get a job, if you wanted to work at a place, you had two options. One, you wrote a resume and you mailed it there, or two, you actually went into the place to apply for the job. And that meant that you didn't have the time to go applying for a ton of jobs. If you wanted a job, you had to A, want it, and B, you had to be pretty sure that you had the skills and qualifications, because you just didn't have the time to apply to 1 million and not care whether you got them or not. And this made it easier actually for everyone. It made it easier for people looking for work because we were self-selecting to a certain extent. Because not everyone was applying to every job, we were kind of just limiting, and it was fair on that side. Then on the hiring manager side, it was also easier because as a person looking for candidates, I could believe to a certain extent that the people applying for work, A, wanted to work there, and B, at least felt that they had the qualifications to be successful in the job. Now, even 10 years ago, before LinkedIn, before continuous streams of Twitter job posts, before I could do a one-click application, you still were kind of limited, at least in the sense that you could only apply for as many jobs as you could send emails. Now, 2015, things have gone off the rails completely, and I'm going to tell you a little story that will prove just how badly they have. So, about a year ago, a guy came in to my office for an interview. We're going to call him Bunny. Now, brief aside, I don't know, I have a thing, for some reason in my books and in my presentations, I insist on naming all my characters after one of my dogs. The tricky part is that I have 3 dogs, but their names are Bunny, Maybelline, and Hot Dog, which is not the most flexible collection of names for a business presentation. Anyways, Bunny. Bunny comes into my office for an interview, and he proceeds to drop some knowledge on me that has been haunting me ever since. He starts telling me about the job search process that he has gone through to lead him to where he was at that moment in time with me, and he was quite proud of the fact that he had figured out the magic formula to finding a job. So he tells me, in the 30 days he'd been looking for work, he'd applied for 1,000 jobs to get 20 phone interviews, 5 in-person interviews, and he had 1 job offer. He'd nailed it. 1,000 applications in a month. This is one busy bunny. But this is the environment that your clients are working in. They're competing against bunnies who are applying for 1,000 jobs a month.